Welcome back to my channel, Makeup Geeks. I have an education video today for you that's all about 5 reasons why your foundation looks patchy. Because patchiness does happen. You guys ask me all the time, how do you get your foundation to look smooth? I wish I could say that my skin is amazing. It's not. It's broken out on my chin. I have pores, I have redness, I have eye bags. I have the works going on in my face. But I do have some great tips on application for foundation. So let's get started into 5 reasons why your foundation looks patchy. Reason number 1, you didn't prep your face. Prepping your skin is the number 1 part of your face routine that I think is going to help make your foundation not look patchy, because if your skin is very smooth, very hydrated, very even as far as dry or oily, it's going to give you the best result for your foundation. So what I like to do is, if you have dry skin, you're going to have dry patches somewhere on your face. I am so sorry they're snoring right now, you guys. Lady Alexia right under my feet, so if you hear loud snores, it's Lady. So anyways, if you have dry skin and some patches, you want to use a hydrating base. I really love the Bobbi Brown one. This is the vitamin E enriched face base. It's amazing for putting on your dry patches. For me, my forehead is what gets really dry. Let me put my hair back so you guys can see. My forehead is the most dry. So what I like to do is take some of this hydrating base, and I just take a damp beauty blender and I put it on my forehead because that's where I get dry. And I want to hydrate under my eyes too, because this is the part of your face. It can get a little patchy and a little cakey sometimes, so I really like to make sure that's hydrated. And then I put just a little bit around the edge of my face, anywhere where you don't have oil glands on your face, which is generally your oil glands are in the center. Which, speaking of which, if you have oily skin, you're gonna prep your face a different way. So dry skin, add a moisturizing base like this. For oily skin, you're actually gonna prep your skin with some powder. So you can take any sort of loose powder like this, do the same method that I just did, and you're gonna take a damp beauty blender, dip it into the powder. I'll demonstrate it for you. So you dip it into the powder and you're gonna apply this in the oily spots of your face, which is the center. I know this is slightly colored, but you guys get the idea. For me, I get oily around my nose, on my chin, just like that. And you can actually prep your skin by putting powder underneath if you have oily. So that's the most important step, is prep your skin. Reason number 2 is you're not using the best foundation formula for you. So choosing your best foundation formula is another reason that can make your foundation look really patchy. If I have oily skin and I wear a very dewy, oily foundation, throughout the day, it can kind of slip around because it's just too greasy, and it can look very patchy because it's sliding around on your face. Same thing with dry skin. If I'm dry skin and I'm using a dry or a matte finish foundation, it can stick to those dry patches and just look a little bit crusty. I'm using really descriptive words today, aren't I? Greasy and crusty for your face. How about that? But if you're using the wrong foundation formula, it's going to enhance the parts of your face that are dry or oily. So basically, foundations come in 3 different formulas. They're going to come in a dewy finish foundation like this one. This is the NARS Sheer Glow. It's an amazing dewy foundation. There's also a matte foundation, and my favorite matte one is the Estee Lauder Double Wear. And then kind of a mix between these two is a satin finish foundation, which is something like the Dermablend Flawless Creator, or you have the Armani Luminous Silk Foundation. That's kind of a satin finish as well. So if you have oily skin, you're going to choose a matte finish foundation. If you have dry skin, you're going to choose a dewy foundation. If you have combination skin where you're not really oily, you're not really dry, you're kind of in the middle, you can choose a satin finish foundation. And again, I'll list it in the description box below so you guys can see the different options of foundation. But choosing the best formula for you is key to having non-patchy foundation. Reason number 3 is you're not using the best tool to apply your foundation. Now, this reason all comes down to the type of tools that you can use. So if you're not using the right tool for your foundation, it can look patchy because it can either streak on your face or it won't apply very evenly. So tools for me is extremely important depending on the formula type. So there's 3 tools that you can use to apply your foundation. You can use a brush, You can use a sponge of some sort, a beauty blender, or you can use your fingers. But you guys, we're going to keep them clean. Do not eat some Cheetos or lick your fingers and then apply your foundation. That's nasty, for one. For two, you're gonna get that bacteria in your skin and you will break out. And again, it'll just mess up your skin texture. So make sure they're clean before you use your fingers. But for me personally, I love using either one of these two. Now here's a trick. If you use a very high pigmented formula, you guys know I love the Dermablend one like this. I prefer applying it with a rounded brush like this because it's so pigmented that a little goes a long way, and so you want to spread it and buff it into the skin. So I love pairing these two together. If I'm going to use a matte finish foundation, something that's a little bit thicker and a little bit drier, I would definitely recommend using a damp beauty blender because the dampness of this is going to kind of break it down. And what I like to do is roll it. So let me demonstrate. I'm going to do both methods for you guys. So let's do the Dermablend one and show you how you're going to use it with a brush to get it the most even on the skin. So what I like to do is put a little bit on the side of my hand. The packaging on this sucks. It's amazing foundation, but the packaging kills me. Okay, so what I do with this formula is I take a kind of a rounded brush like this. It's a little bit dense because you want something that's gonna buff into the skin. So what I do, you see how pigmented that is? I dip that brush in one time. I could literally cover my whole face with that. So what I like to do is literally buff it into the skin. You wanna do circular motions like this. As soon as you do a streaking motion like this, let me show you on my forehead. As soon as I do a streak motion like that, do you see how there's stripes in there? It's not even. You wanna buff it. So we're gonna do rounded motions like this. Now, if you're going to use a matte finish foundation like this one, I love the Beautifully Matte one by Boots number 7. You can get this at Target. This is where you're going to use a beauty blender. So what you're going to do, same idea, put some on the back of your hand. We're going to tap it into the foundation. With a beauty blender, to get the most even finish of your foundation, you want to bounce it and roll. Did you guys get that? Bounce and roll. So what happens when you bounce, it gives you the stippling motion like this. Just kind of tap it onto your skin. It doesn't leave any harsh edges or streaks. And then if you really want to melt it into the skin and make everything very smooth, very flawless, you're going to roll the edges. And those two techniques with using that sponge, tap and roll or bounce and roll, is what's going to give you that flawless, smooth finish. Reason number 4 is your foundation is not the right color. So if your face is one color and your foundation is something 3 shades lighter or 3 shades darker, obviously when you go to apply it, it doesn't matter how well you're buffing it into the skin. At some point, there's gonna be a little piece of your skin that's gonna show through that foundation, and it's going to look patchy because the color doesn't match your skin. I'm a huge believer in custom mixing your foundation because it's very rare to go to any store, pick a foundation off the shelf and have it match your skin exactly. It's always going to be a little too orange, a little too pink, too dark, too light. So I always like to find different foundations and mix them together. And honestly, this is just trial and error of you just taking whatever foundation formula that you love, get a couple shades that are close to where you're at. I always recommend buying 2 shades and then custom mixing them to get the right finish for your skin. So I have a video on that. You can click on it right here to watch how to custom mix your foundation. Reason number 5, you used way too much setting powder. After you apply your foundation, you want to set your foundation with some powder. You can do either press or loose, but this is another reason that can make your foundation look patchy is if you apply too much of it, it can actually stick to the skin in different spots, and you can have some areas that look very dry and thick and other areas that look like dewy skin. So you want to make sure that you use the least amount of powder possible. I know this goes against the trend with the baking and all that. That's another video that we can do. But for everyday makeup, what I like to do is take a damp beauty blender, dip it into some loose powder like this, and you're going to put it just in the T-zone, the parts that you get oily. And we're going to use that same method I mentioned earlier where you're going to tap it and roll it. The whole idea with flawless, non-patchy foundation is there's no harsh edges, no streaks, no lines. So anytime you roll it, you blend out those edges and everything looks smooth. So I hope that was helpful for all of you guys about how to not make your foundation look patchy. Try these steps out. Let me know in the comment box below of other videos that you want to see from me. And don't forget to click on that little button right there, that little bell. If you click on that, you get notified they have some great content coming your way. So don't forget to click on that and subscribe. So thanks for watching. I'll see you next week for another Makeup Monday.